Hello everyone. Am I audible to all of you guys? Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. You are audible.
Yes.
Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Youth Leader Talk protecting the rights of Indigenous people in voluntary isolation and initial contact. It's really great to see all of you guys here today and I'm appreciating that taking the time to join with us. My name is Shivanti Fernando and I'm from Sri Lanka and I'm one of the commission member from the Women Empowerment and the Gender Equity. Before starting this session, I would like to give a brief background about this session. On August 9, on each year, we are celebrating International Day of the World's Indigenous People. So in 2024, focusing is about protecting the rights of Indigenous people in voluntary isolation and initial contact. So all of you guys know that the indigenous people are facing so many challenges because of lack of the recognition and the overexploitation, and there are so many reasons for that. And as a youth leaders, we need to identify who are the real indigenous people and what are the rights of them. So the one of the main objective of this session is making awareness of all of you guys who are these indigenous people. So simultaneously, we are celebrating on August 12th the International Youth Day. 2024 focusing is about the youth digital pathway for sustainable development. So all of you guys know that we are living in a digital transformation era and digital technology will provide so many solutions to challenges which are existing in this world right now. But due to lack of the digital literacy, we don't know how to utilize those digital transformation tools in this era to addressing those challenges. So through this session, we are going to identify who are the best leaders or how to become a youth leaders in this generation and what is the meaning of the digital empowerment and how to combine them to enhance our social life as well as the personal life. So finally, the outcome here, how to protecting indigenous people through youth leadership by utilizing digital transformation tools. So I'm thinking that hopefully you will get a knowledge about this session and how to recognize those indigenous people and how to be a youth leaders. So I want to mention that please don't hesitate to ask any questions and don't be afraid to ask any question. Please ask questions and give your opinions about this session. And if you have any clarification, if you need any clarification, please ask from the speakers as well as. And also, I would like to invite those speakers. There are two speakers today is going to performing. First one is Kim Falyao. She's coming from I-Lias Youth from Mount Province and she's national coordinator of Siklab Philippine Indigenous Youth Network and she's a council member of Asia Indigenous Youth Platform. So the other speaker is Leo Faraha. He was a bachelor in education, major in electronics and minor English and he's graduated in Don Bosco Technological Institute and he's an instructor in Don Bosco Technical Secondary School and he's an animator of Juventus Media Club. So I would like to invite those speakers to enhance our knowledge. Now time is yours.
Hello? Am I clear?
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So I was invited to speak for this youth talk or Indigenous youth voices regarding the rights of Indigenous peoples in voluntary isolation and initial contact. So again, to greet everyone, maybe we're in the different time zone, but nevertheless, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are right now. I did not prepare a presentation slides for this discussion, as I myself am not really familiar with the voluntary isolation and initial contact of Indigenous people. So I would keep my time here short, since my lack of knowledge in this aspect. Um, I have read several articles on people in voluntary isolation, and they are really vulnerable. Some might say that their number one, what do you call this, problem regarding this right is the issue of diseases. If we're familiar with the case of the indigenous peoples in Canada, wherein outsiders really intended to put smallpox or such diseases in their blankets that were used to the trading, in order to wipe out the population of this indigenous group in Canada. Another problem that might come um, from this is the cultural trauma and appropriation of their culture. So voluntary isolated groups have not come in contact with other people outside their own kind due to many reasons that we may categorize as their right to self-determination. However, some are forced to come out due to various reasons as well, such as the IPs in Amazon that are forced because of the deforestation and the uh, what do you call this, issue of the burning of their forest. So people in voluntary isolation are also vulnerable to cultural trauma, as they have this uneven social development as compared to the general public. So they are not able to follow the cultural and social development of the majority of us. These groups are also used for decoration purposes just to gain money, such as the case of the Tasday people in Mindanao here in the Philippines during the administration of Ferdinand Marcos Sr., the father of the current president in our country. They were introduced to the media, the Tasaday people, introduced internationally. Marcos Sr. and Manda Elizalde, a businessman, are the ones who stated that the Tasaday people are from the Stone Age, not from the Tasaday people themselves. They did not recognize themselves as from the Stone Age. Um, Soon, anthropologists claimed that the Tasaday people are hoax. They were just farmers who just wore clothes to come off as indigenous peoples. They were made fun of and called to be liars. And this forced the Tasaday people to come to the center in Manila, here in the Philippines, in order to prove themselves. Basically, yeah, their right to voluntary isolation and initial contact was violated because of this. In this case, we can say that the state is the perpetrator for the lack of protection of the Tasaday's rights. And they were the ones who introduced them to the broader public, which resulted to the Tasaday to evacuate their cave and push them to go to the center in their province. Um, Now, how do we as indigenous youth respect and promote this right of people in voluntary isolation? The thing that I would like to call for is for more discussions and studies regarding this, so that we can understand more of this aspect of indigenous people's right to self-determination. Learning about this may seem small, but it is already a big thing that would really help indigenous peoples who are in such situation. As a concept of voluntary isolation was just introduced recently, or um, just this decade, I guess. So we need more understanding and more knowledge regarding this right, um, as us in the Philippines or maybe in Asia, in general, are not really not knowledgeable regarding this right. So um, move forward or to really respect and promote the right of Indigenous peoples to voluntary isolation and initial contact, we first need to have more knowledge and exchange learnings about this, right? Um, and aside from that, we first need to acknowledge the territories of these people in voluntary isolation, and then that will be followed um, in respecting their right to self-determination. So um, I guess as Indigenous youth, we um, at least I would like to call for more discussions and learning. And it is good that IMCS initiated this webinar. And being a speaker, is actually very thankful that I am invited to this webinar to really deepen my understanding regarding the theme that the United Nations has put forward. And it's also good that the international level, the UN, is recognizing this right of the Indigenous peoples who are in voluntary isolation and initial contact. So yeah, I guess that's my talk for tonight. Um, and if you have questions regarding the cases that I had shared, uh, I will try my best to answer that. And yeah, that's for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim Falyao. So I think I pronounced your name correctly, right? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes. Sorry again.
Am I pronouncing your name correctly, right? Kim
Yeah.
Falyao.
Yes. Falyao.
Okay, okay. Okay, then participants, if you have any questions, please ask from her, because we are accepting all the opinions in here and we are not judging anyone in here, because we are learning, right? That is the main thing in life. So if you need any clarifications from her, please ask. Okay, then. Okay, then. Thank you, Kim Falyao, for sharing your knowledge with us. So I would like to invite Leo Paraha. He's a social media communication for Indigenous peoples and instructor at Don Bosco Secondary School, Papua New Guinea. So now time is yours.
You can hear me? Hello?
We
You
can
can
hear
hear
you.
me? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I prepared a PowerPoint. I can put it up for you to see. Or I'll just go through it and then. Okay.
Maybe you can share the screen if that's possible.
Okay. How do I do that? All right. Let me see. Okay. Hello. Sorry.
Hello. Yes. Kindly send to us if you face any issue to so we can assist you with the share
Okay.
screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You can share to Supan. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Okay, sent to Suman already. Suman? Okay.
Okay.
All right, so good night, everyone, once again. So it is my first time also to give a talk. And again, my youth leader talk, protecting the rights of indigenous people in voluntary isolation and initial contact. All right, so let's go through. So again, next slide. All right, so let's continue. So again, greetings and welcome from PNG. Again, good night. In my talk pisin is good pala night and low you blogata. So that's good night to you all once again. All right. So again, my name is Leo Paraha. Again, from Papua New Guinea. Port Moresby City, Gabutu, Don Bosco, from Don Bosco compound. My DBTS and a Salesian educator. Again, an animator, media animator, and graduated again with bachelor's degree in education, a major in electronics and minor English. Part of the social communication team for MES 2004. And then also recently attended the Youth Indigenous Leaders Media Education or Production course and Voices in Don Bosco, Cape Province, that's Cambodia. All right, let's continue. Okay, so again, we just recently celebrated the International Day of Well Indigenous People. That was on the 9th of August yesterday. We move on. All right, just the outline of the content I'll be sharing with you guys. So who are the indigenous people once again? We've heard from Kim also, shared a bit of the indigenous people's displacement and all this. I'll try to put something also before we move on. Definition on the team, and are we part of the indigenous people? How to protect our indigenous people through use of social media, and why social media, and the 5 significance of why we celebrated the Indigenous Day, and then how 5 significant aspects of indigenous people can be addressed through social media, with few examples I put, and then few platforms and groups for rights of indigenous people, and I'll conclude from there. Thank you. Let's move. So firstly, who are the indigenous people? Okay, according to World Bank operational policies context, indigenous peoples are distinct social and cultural groups. They share collective ancestral ties, lands, natural resources where they live, occupy from, which they have been displaced. Okay, what we've heard earlier also by Kim stated a bit of displacement been done by removing these people. The land and the natural resources on which they depend are again inextricably linked to their identities, cultures, livelihoods, as well as their physical and spiritual well-being. Thank you. Let's move. continue to the next slide. All right, so let's take the term voluntary isolation. Okay, voluntary isolation and initial contact. The term voluntary isolation means these groups activities they have been or groups actively reject integration with groups outside of their territories for protection of their rightful land and resources. Initial contact can mean probably first meeting, or they have never experienced the outside influence or development of the land and resources, or how we can meet them as a first initial contact. Some have come to accept developers or foreigners with proper win-win dialogue, while however some still fight their way or rights and are still fighting for their territories, etc. As I speak and as we move on this session. Thank you. Let's move. So again, a question that I would ask everyone is, are we part of the indigenous? So as we can see, yes, we are, and we have our own place of origin also. We are all gatherers, again, hunters, gardeners, etc. We can trace back to history and find out that we have some things in common. We are the indigenous people, and the nature, again, knows our name. Nature knows us. Therefore, we should embrace and protect our culture, identity, and the people. So how do we protect our people and their resources? Okay. Through the use of the famous tool for digital natives, all right, these social media. Okay, so this is how at least we should try to make aware or be advocates through social media, protecting the rights of our people and their resources. Thank you. Let's move. So again, social media, I think everyone knows what social media is. According to Yahoo, again, social media are websites and applications that enable users to create, share content, and social networking. Furthermore, again, on marine online directory states. So form of electronic communication such as website, networking, microblogging, and through which users can create online communities to share information and other content. So like this online Zoom we're having, these are some avenues or platforms that can also show social media users how to protect and at least have some information on how we should protect and help these indigenous people or our people. Again, the use of social media for advocating indigenous rights and raising awareness at a global scale. So I chose these three main social media platforms. Facebook is very, I think, has many users. We have TikTok and we have WhatsApp. Okay, thank you. Let's move. Why social media? Again, the mass population on social media, as everyone knows, we can get our targeted audience through these social media platforms. So 3 points there are 2 points. Our young people's percentage is more than the older ones since they are the future of tomorrow. Okay. Number 2 is generation digital natives will be the voice of the voiceless and the advocate. We are the ones, or the younger ones, should at least advocate. Having said that, again, awareness is at our fingertips if we use social media in the correct way and saying no to illegal login, okay, helping out again at our fingertips and protecting the rights of the indigenous people. Okay. Thank you. Let's move. Again, according to the UN, celebrating the International Indigenous Peoples Day, there were 5 significance, okay, the aspects of it. As you can see on the slide, we have at least to use, or how I put it, to raise awareness. Why we celebrate International Day of Indigenous People is firstly is to raise awareness. The second one is to protect their rights. This is what we are also talking about. The third one, recognize their contributions. Later I can further elaborate further. The fourth one is promote diversity. And the fifth one is to foster collaboration. So again, the UN emphasizes more on these 5 aspects. Now, how do we develop these significant aspects through social media? Again, from the 5, I got out at least 4, and these are some of the examples where we can use social media to raise awareness. The first one is on raising awareness. Okay, an example can be uploading awareness videos, okay, short videos, vlogs, reels on the rights of indigenous peoples, probably on TikTok, videos, Facebook, or WhatsApp. Number 2, how we should do that is by protecting or using the aspect of the second significant of to protect the rights of these people. So recently also in Rome, there was I think Mojo, which also means a mobile journalist. We can also make use of this, report or develop articles on Facebook or share any illegal practices you identify online. Number 3 is to recognize contributions. All right, create probably podcast or social media, invite leaders from other countries or representatives representing the IPs to talk about the conservation of the environment and its contribution to the world. Okay, maybe some workshops that some of you must have attended already, or might have attended. And then number 4, I just put there foster collaboration. For instance, the youth leader talk we are having now, a collaborative effort of everyone can make a change, again, through these social media platforms I'm talking about. Thank you. Those are the 3 from the 5 aspects I got. All right, so again, it is, again, I'm not an expert to this. I'm not an expert to this. I just put down here also some areas or organizations which protect the indigenous human rights. So I have listed 10 out of 15 there. International Work Group of Indigenous Affairs, and so forth, so on, until semi-council. All right, and another group also is the International Work Group for Indigenous Affairs, IGIA. It also helps protect the indigenous people. And then, thank you, let's move. All right, so like some of the workshops also previously held, these are some of the areas or avenues where we can help promote also foster indigenous people, the culture and everything that the indigenous people have. We also have the next slide. Okay, recently held also, again, for promotional and yes. And then we ended with a conclusion. Again, the UN mentions the International Day of World Indigenous Peoples 2024 is focusing on protecting rights of indigenous people in voluntary isolation. Again, the indigenous isolation and initial contact are the best protectors of the forest, where their collaborative rights to land and territories are protected, and the forests thrive along their society. And not only their survival crucial to the protection of our planet, but it is crucial to the protection of cultural and linguistic diversity. We are no different to these people who need our help. They are part of us. Let us all stand together and share or be the share button in social media to protect our indigenous people for a better future. Be true digital natives for the indigenous people or our people. And the most powerful tool we can use today to bring about change is through our phones and through social media. All right, thank you once again, and thank you very much. Thank you, Suman, for also inviting me to give this talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leo Faraha, for sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank
And
you.
only 3 participants, you can ask any questions from him. Do you have any questions about indigenous people or how to use our social medias to protect them? So if you have any, if you need any clarifications, please ask.
Sorry, was okay or too fast? All right.
What about Jojo Pang, then Supriya Lema? Do you have any questions? Or Tai Singh? Okay then. So now we are going to do a breakdown, all of you guys into the rooms. And so in your group, you need to talk about, are you aware of indigenous people rights in your places? And the second one is, how can we help them to get their rights? So the third one is any reflection for the year's theme. And after the 20 minutes, you need to come to the main room and share your perspectives with us. And I told you earlier also, don't be afraid to share any opinions with us because all opinions are acceptable and we are not judging anyone in here. Because from all the accurate opinions, we are identifying what is the most accurate opinion. So that is the thing we are doing in here. So let's break out into the rooms.
Sorry, Shivanti, for interrupting. Like before we go to the breakout rooms and other thing, can we have the questions in the chat box or anywhere so that they will be easily accessible, no? Okay, shall we do that now?
Okay, I think all of you guys in the breakout rooms, you talk about these kind of things and who are the indigenous people and how to address in them. Now it's time to share your knowledge and share your perspectives, which are discussed in your breakout rooms. Now it's time to share it. So I will pick up names. Benedict, what is your thought? You discuss in our room. There is a full potential knowledge, right? So Benedict, what is your thought about these indigenous people and how to address them and why we don't need to exclude in them?
Well, I think, as I mentioned in the group, is that they are the most excluded and they are also on the periphery and they are often forgotten. But any development is not sustainable without including its all people. So any country in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, or India, anywhere in the world, they must be given access to the development plan, development activity, development intervention. So this is one important thing. And this is also MDG principle. No one should be left behind. No one should be excluded. And also our Holy Father is calling upon us so that their tradition, their culture, their way of living should be respected. They should be listened, and we should also learn so that we can give and take. This is one aspect. But another aspect I was sharing was that since it is very much use of social media and digital world, but they are also excluded. They don't have the facility as we have to use all this Facebook, all this TikTok or other media and other things, other platforms. So that is one thing that every country should consider to include them in this latest digital facilities. So this is one kind of discrimination that they are facing. So then we will be together and also better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Benedict, for sharing your knowledge. And others, now it's time yours. Agnes, do you have anything to share with us? Agnes Endika.
Hello. If we're calling from someone from breakout session 3, I would suggest Supriya.
Thank you for the questions. And talking about from our discussions, we discussed about the country-wise situation of indigenous rights. And talking about Nepal, the rights had been had been preserved in some extent, but it's not enough. So for the protection of our indigenous rights in Nepal, at first, we should advocate for a stronger enforcement of existing laws that protect indigenous rights, such as ILO Convention 169, which Nepal has ratified. And as a student, we can, as a student and youth, we can just being aware by reading and doing research from the grassroots level. And we can talk about our land rights, food rights, and cultural rights in context of Nepal and as a whole. Like, and talking about the reflection, there has been great encroachment of lands and a lot of indigenous places in the name of establishing conservation areas and national parks without free, prior, and informed consent of the local people. So it should be addressed by the concerned authorities, like organization related to indigenous peoples and UNDRIP, and that's all.
Thank you so much, Supriya. So in chat box, Jojo Fang stated that Corredia Amazonia, Pope Francis 2022 apostolic exhortation talks about dialogue is an intercultural encounter with the IPS living in isolation as they chose to interact more directly with nature. But some of the ways you and I become a bridge to them and not a wall that keep them out. Thank you so much, Jojo Fang, for sharing with us. And what about other groups? Others? Please, if you have any questions also, please ask. An opinion also we need. Subege, do you need to add anything?
Excuse me. Yeah. Thank you, Sifanti. So in the chat box, Father Jojo has shared about the Querida Amazonia, and then at the end, there is a reflection questions about what are some of the ways you and I become a bridge to them and not a wall that keep them out. So for our friends, if you would like to share your sharing or reflection after the breakout rooms, or if you think you want to respond to the questions or even to our two speakers, Kim and Leo, it's open for everyone. Let's reflect together on it, and also based on our sharing in breakout rooms. That's and from our group, we are from breakout room 4. James, Carl, would you like to share? Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Berta. I'm an Indigenous youth from Indonesia, from the eastern part of Indonesia. And so from our sharing in the breakout rooms, it's really insightful sharing. I can meet 3 of our friends from Cambodia and one from the Philippines. I think he faced issue. He just joined now, so he may also share later. But from our sharing, we can found out that in different country, the system, how the government and how the indigenous communities being empowered, as mentioned by Ms. Kim, our first speaker, share about the to get the knowledge and then know that they have the indigenous, they have the rights as indigenous peoples or as the community in the different country. It's different. For example, in the Philippines, how youth can take really action to help and to help them out, and to connect with the indigenous community. While in Indonesia, for example, it's really hard even for them to aware, to know their identity as indigenous peoples as a youth or for this generation. So and from our friends from Cambodia about their how the youth right now also work together with the community to raise awareness, especially they're facing challenges with the land grabbing. So it's really insightful in our group, sharing among these three, yeah, it's Southeast Asian countries, and different insight and different reflection, especially for these years, and how youth can also bring some action, transformational action through social media, as mentioned by Mr. Leo, our second speaker. So that will be from my reflection from group 4. Thank you. I have questions to Mr. Leo. We have hear from our first speaker, Kim, share about the situation and how the youth in the Philippines. And it's really nice to hear from your sharing and how we can also assist them through use the social media and the platform, the digital platform. I'm curious, how is the indigenous communities and youth also in Papua New Guinea? So you may also elaborate or share with us in short about the indigenous peoples there, as we are neighbor countries. For me as an Indonesian, and we still face also some issue in the indigenous communities in the remote area. So
Yes, thank you. Thank you once again. I think also it comes back to the type of government that we have. I think in PNG we have the democratic government, so it also gives enough space for people to air out their views and their opinions, especially to everyone. Every individual has a right. So that also empowers us to, as young people, to at least share our views, our thoughts, and sometimes we have been had, but there are times also it takes time and right procedure and the right authority to take our views, and that they can also assist, especially for the indigenous people, the ones in the most remote area, like what Mr. Benedict also has mentioned, like everyone should be included. I think in my country we have the areas that are a bit neglected, but we try to reach out to everyone. Then, like I have mentioned, democratic country, which also has a space for an individual to share and at least to say something on social media. Yes, mostly in Facebooks, we have also platforms where, or pages or blogs that we can also strongly air out our views. And some of our journalists also, they talk more, or the press freedom also helps to air out those views, which also are tabled on the floor of parliament for discussion also. Yeah, so thank you. I hope I have answered a bit your question.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us also the kind of the how we can see the Papua New Guinea, the situation in terms of the indigenous communities. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else would like to share or maybe ask any questions? And it will be great if we can also hear from other breakout rooms, the sharing in the group.
Hello, good
Jojo, are
evening,
you trying
everyone.
to say anything?
Hello, yes, Carl.
So I'm inspired when I'm sharing also the situation about the indigenous peoples in my country, Philippines. So during in the breakout rooms, I discussed about how my country um give opportunity, equal treatment to those people or groups of indigenous individual who are very diverse in my region, in my country, Philippines. So as time goes by, based on the current situation, they are slowly um giving the rights to live, the right to exist in this world or in my country, Philippines. So in fact, they passed a law which strengthened their life to interact with those people who are living in the more civilized society. So this law named the IPRA law or the Indigenous Peoples' Right Act, the RA 8371. So the overview of this act is to recognize, protect, and promote the rights of indigenous cultural communities or indigenous people, to create a national commission of indigenous people, which established and implementing mechanisms, appropriating funds, therefore for other purposes. So this law made those indigenous people to become more motivated to live, to exist, so that they can feel that they are welcome in any situation, any status of living in life. So as a Filipino citizen, it reflects me that even with this law, this IPRA law, they can feel that they have the right to exist. They are also people. So they are also granted the so-called power of eminent domain also, which gives them the right that the land that they are living must be preserved and must be granted also equal opportunity. So based on the previous discussion given by the speaker, it is very significant and pivotal that social media, as we the youth, we are the hope of the nation, of our country. So we are into big attachment with technology. So we should use this opportunity to show them that though they are not civilized yet, because they are living in the those uncivilized regions, because they are the indigenous people, we must be the voice that we must help them to rise up in the community that we belong. So even my country, those indigenous people, those products that they have created boosted our economy, and those simple yet very impactful products that they created is a very important thing that made our country Philippines well known to other country, not just in Southeast Asia. So that's all.
Thank you, Carl. Anyone else? Okay. Over to you, Sivanti.
Okay, thank you, Bertha. So I will give my reflection also. As Benedict said that to the indigenous people, we need to listen them as well as we need to understand their realities because as I said earlier, indigenous are the people. Without them, we can't survive in this world because they are the guidance. They are the guiders of the traditions. So we need to protect our traditions, and every country has a unique traditions and the culture. So as Salian and the Benedict said that we need to unity, we need to come together and discuss and make public conversations about this indigenous people. So that is my reflections and coming from my group. So I would like to invite Suman to give the vote of thanks as well as to wrap up this session.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank especially our speakers who took their time and then they are here with us and they shared their understanding, their knowledge with us. So that's really an inspiring reflection we had during this particular session. So yeah, it's we are honored and then we are blessed to like listening to you, the sharing it, and like I have already met Leo when we were in Cambodia. We were part of a media talk or media showcase series. So we also have some of the students from Cambodia. So happy to see you all and happy to see Leo because the time when we were in Cambodia, we used to discuss a lot about what is indigenous spirituality and how can we balance indigenous spirituality and our Catholic faith and other things. So it was really a great time that I spent together with him. That's why we invited him as one of the sharing panelists. Like we can't say like, okay, we are like inviting them as the speakers, but we are just trying to understand what each of the our indigenous youth has to say about the indigenous people's right. And since we are joining in this month, like Indigenous Peoples Month, August, so it's really important for us to really reflect on what are the contributions of indigenous peoples in terms of like preserving the biodiversity, the other like different cultural like identities and other thing. It's always important, like if we analyze some of the contexts in different countries, like for in Bangladesh, India, Nepal, or other different countries, we can see many indigenous people has been displaced, like in terms of like development project and other things. The territories of indigenous people has been a kind of hijacked or dominated. And there are many other things that's really challenging the lifestyles of indigenous people. Not only that, but cultural heritage and other things has not been properly preserved. And when it comes to rights of indigenous people, some of the countries has uh, given the reservation seats, and there are many even other things, but when it comes to the purity of preserving the rights and identities of indigenous people, they are really, backward, like the mainstream of the people who are really, running the system is somehow like trying to use the knowledge and other things of indigenous people, but they are not given proper privilege to indigenous people so that they also can come up in the mainstream of decision making and other things. So yeah, thank you for everyone for sharing your reflections. It was really wonderful to hear, while you were sharing after the breakout room and other sharings we had. And I would also like to thank Sivanti for moderating this session, and thank you every one of you participants for being here with us tonight. So today is the first day of our Young Youth Talk about Indigenous uh, rights and other things. We are trying to align it with digital media tools and other things, because most of us are so much into this digital world, like social media world. So we are trying to initiate different campaigns. We are trying to bring forth the different initiatives, how we can preserve our cultural heritages, cultural identities of Indigenous people through the proper use of digital media. So that's why we have two speakers today. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And tomorrow we will have another session, not session, but Young Youth Talk tomorrow. Okay. So this is the posture we have. We have invited two of our young Indigenous people who will be sharing their reflection and insights for tomorrow. So hope to see you all tomorrow, and thank you everyone once again for being here tonight.
Thank you, everyone. Can we ask you to turn on your video? So in the chat box, we as the International Movement of Catholic Students, IMCS Pax Romana, in celebrating the International Days of the world's Indigenous peoples, we has the statement, IMCS statement, that you can find in the chat box and by our chaplain, Father Jojo Fung here. So you may also access it in all our social media platform. So for those who cannot turn on your camera, you may just press the heart reaction or whatever the reaction that you want. Okay. We still wait for others. Please kindly turn on your camera. All right. Okay. So I'll count 1, 2, and 3. Oh, wait. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you, everyone, once again for today. We'll see you again tomorrow for the next workshop. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Leo.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Stefan.
Father.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.